found my mom's death certificate, hidden behind an old rendering. It wasn't the date that made my blood run cold. It was the cause of death.
My mom was a brilliant architect who saw beauty in everything.
When she died about a year ago, the official story was just a tragic, sudden accident.
They said she took a bad fall on the path behind our family home, the Hearthstone. She designed that house herself and poured her entire soul into it. The grief was a physical weight crushing me. I'm an architect too, trying to live up to her legacy. My dad retreated into his shell. We both mourned, but I felt this weird disconnect, a hollow space. Standing in her sun-drenched studio, the smell of old paper was kind of comforting. But that hollow space was suddenly filled with a chilling certainty. The official certificate said cardiac arrest, complications from blunt force trauma. Not an accidental fall, but complications. Tucked even deeper in the files was a faded photo of an autopsy report. One line was circled in red ink, and I instantly recognized my mom's handwriting. It said there was evidence of bruising consistent with a struggle. The whole world just tilted. A struggle? She was supposed to be completely alone on that path.
At least, that's what I was told.
Her studio has been my sanctuary since she passed away. It's the only place I can really feel her presence. My dad, though, always tried to keep me out of here. He'd say it was too painful and that we needed to move forward. His voice always sounded so strained, like he was begging me to just let her rest. He even wanted to sell the Hearthstone right after the funeral, which felt like a total betrayal. She loved that house more than anything in the world. It was her masterpiece, built from the ground up to be this beautiful fortress for our family. I fought him on selling it, but he backed down. But the threat lingered. So the more I thought about that certificate, the more things didn't add up. Like my dad insisting on a closed casket, claiming she was too vain. He rushed the funeral, pushing us through the motions. He swore the police investigation was just a formality. They said she lost her footing. But Eleanor Vance never lost her footing. She was an athlete. A simple fall? It was a lie. I traced the lines of the foundation on those massive blueprints. I knew every inch of that house, from the kitchen to my own bedroom. But then I saw something that stopped me dead in my tracks. Right under the master bedroom, Mom had circled a section of the basement in red ink. She wrote, "Disused, sealed, forgotten foundation." It was a whole chunk of the house I didn't even know existed. I used to explore every nook and cranny of that place when I was a kid. How do you just miss an entire foundation? Mom planned everything, down to the millimeter. So calling it forgotten felt like a riddle. The plans showed this area was totally walled off with heavy-duty concrete and steel. My architect brain kind of took over the shock for a second. I started digging through the archives to find her older drafts. Hours turned into days in that studio. I was basically running on cold coffee and this awful, gnawing suspicion. I checked every single line and measurement she ever drew. Dad kept popping in, trying to coax me out of there. He looked worried, but there was something else in his eyes. Maybe fear? He'd leave food by the door, but it felt like he was guarding the place. Finally, the differences in the blueprints became super obvious. So early blueprints from 20 years ago showed that space was initially figured as a functional underground vault. It even had a secret sliding panel behind a master bedroom in the master bedroom. But on the newest plans, that door was totally gone, replaced by a solid wall. And the reinforcements she added were insane. Almost paranoid. Why fortify a tiny, empty room like a bunker? Then I found it, hidden deep in the creases of the final blueprint. It was this
tiny, half-erased note written in Mom's handwriting.
It looked like she tried to rub it out, but changed her mind.
I could only make out a few words, but they made my blood run cold.
It said, "The weakness, Arthur's folly, must be exposed."
Hearing my dad's name like that felt like a punch to the gut.
Arthur's Folly.
Seeing my dad's name written like that hit me like a ton of bricks. What kind of weakness was she talking about? And why hide it in the foundation of our house?
It was a desperate plea from beyond the grave.
I had to call my Aunt Vivian. She's my mom's sister, and they shared that same quiet strength. I carefully laid out everything I'd found. The altered death certificate, the hidden foundation, and that cryptic note. I could hear her breathing get heavier on the other end of the line. Vivian told me Mom had changed in those last few months. She said she was acting paranoid, always looking over her shoulder. Mom kept saying she was working on something vital. Something about building a case against someone who completely betrayed her.
She never named names, but Vivian said her eyes looked ice cold.
Suddenly, all the pieces started clicking together. My mom was brilliant, and she never missed a detail. She must have found out something devastating about my dad. And knowing her, she wasn't just going to sit back and take it. She was getting ready to expose him, no matter the cost. But how was she going to do it? For my mom, a building wasn't just a structure. It was a living story told in concrete and steel. If she had a massive secret to hide, she'd bury it right inside her life's work. This whole house was a giant vault. I grabbed the blueprints and started my physical search.
I went straight to the master bedroom.
That was the spot right above the forgotten foundation. Older plans showed a sliding panel hidden somewhere in here. I just had to find it. This massive built-in bookshelf covered the whole wall.
It looked completely solid, like it hadn't moved in decades.
But my mom was a total master of illusion. I ran my hands over the wood, tapping on the panels.
I was listening for any hollow sounds, but it felt totally seamless.
Then I remembered a tiny detail from the early drafts. There was a slight variation marked on the floorboards, right in front of the bookshelf. I got down on my knees to get a closer look. The lamp cast these long shadows across the polished oak. And there it was, a faint, hair-thin line running right along a single plank. It was almost invisible if you didn't know what to look for. Just a tiny shift in the wood grain. It wasn't a mistake. It was a perfectly disguised hinge. My heart started hammering in my chest. Everything in the room suddenly felt different. All those years I walked past this spot. This wasn't just a bookshelf. It was a hidden door. It took me hours to carefully pry open that disguised section of the floor. I used some old tools from my mom's workshop, working as gently as I could. I was terrified of breaking whatever delicate mechanism she'd hidden down there. Once the board lifted, I found this small recessed cavity underneath.
It wasn't much bigger than a shoebox, perfectly carved right into the subfloor.
The air trapped inside smelled like cedar and old secrets. Nestled inside on a faded velvet cushion was just one single object. It was this heavy, ornate brass key, just gleaming in the low light. My breath caught in my throat the second I reached out to touch it. The key was freezing cold and incredibly heavy in my hand. Then I saw the connection. It had this intricate sculptural bow shaped perfectly into a stylized letter E. This wasn't just some spare house key. It was custom-made for a very specific secret. With the key in my pocket, I rushed straight back to the studio. I spread the blueprints out again, frantically scanning the lines for a matching lock. I knew the answer had to be somewhere in that forgotten foundation section. Then,
I finally spotted it, hidden deep in the architectural legend. A tiny symbol on the blueprint perfectly matched the E on the key. It pointed right to the reinforced basement wall, detailing a hidden pressure plate and keyhole. The lock was located directly beneath the master bedroom. I headed down into the basement, a place I usually tried to avoid. The damp chill down there suddenly felt electric, heavy with the smell of old concrete. I stood right in front of the designated section of the wall. It was completely solid and featureless. No seams, no cracks, nothing. I ran my hands over the cold concrete, but it was perfectly smooth. But my mom was a master of subtlety. She wouldn't make it obvious. The blueprint mentioned a thermal expansion point calibrated for a specific frequency. So I spent 2 days building a makeshift vibration detector out of her old tools. While I was testing the wall, my dad started hovering a lot more. He showed up in the basement, asking what I was doing with this forced, casual tone. But when I looked at his eyes, I saw something that looked a lot like panic. I brushed him off, mumbling some excuse about checking the structural integrity for the new conservatory. He didn't buy it for a second. You could see the suspicion and dread written all over his face. But eventually, he backed off and headed upstairs, leaving me alone in the cold. Once I knew he was gone, I turned right back to that massive gray wall. My hands were absolutely freezing, but I pressed my palm flat against the concrete anyway. I just closed my eyes and tried to tune in to the subtle vibrations of the house. After what felt like a million tries, I finally felt it. Just this faint, barely there humming sensation, vibrating right under my palm.
It was exactly where the blueprint said the thermal expansion point would be.
She'd hidden a pressure plate right there in plain sight. I grabbed a small mallet that I'd wrapped in cloth to keep the noise down. Then I started tapping the wall, following the exact rhythm my mom had sketched out in her notes. I was just praying I'd actually understood her little puzzle correctly. Out of nowhere, this soft little click echoed through the basement, and my heart just about jumped out of my chest. Then this impossibly fine seam actually appeared right in the solid concrete. It started spiraling outward from the exact spot I'd been pressing. A small circular section of the wall, maybe the size of a dinner plate, just pushed inward with a soft hiss. When the dust cleared, there it was. A perfectly crafted keyhole, hidden deep inside what looked like a totally solid wall. My hands were shaking as I reached into my pocket for that heavy brass key. I carefully slid the ornate key right into the hidden slot. I was holding my breath the whole time, but it slid in perfectly smooth, like it belonged there. I turned it super slowly, and I could actually feel the tumblers clicking into place. Then that whole circular section of the wall started to rotate clockwise. It was this heavy, mechanical movement that just felt so final, like there was no going back. It didn't open up into some huge room, just this dark, narrow little crawl space. The air that rushed out was super stale, smelling like old paper and metal. I grabbed my flashlight and shined it straight into the dark to see what she'd left me. The space was tiny but completely dry, which was classic Mom, engineering everything perfectly. And right there, pushed against the back wall, was this heavy steel box. It had a crazy combination lock on it, and that same stylized E etched right into the metal. I pulled that heavy steel box out of the dark, and it weighed a ton. It had a complex combination lock, but seeing that etched E told me I was right. One last puzzle. It wasn't a standard safe dial. She built the code using the actual dimensions of the house. I needed the exact longitude, latitude, and original brick count. Stuff only an architecture nerd would know. I locked myself in the studio for another agonizing day, digging through her oldest archives.
I cross-referenced blueprints with decades-old invoices to get the math right. It felt like our last project together. My dad was practically hovering outside the door, looking incredibly paranoid. He kept telling me I was getting obsessive and needed to stop.
You could see his concerned dad act cracking under the pressure.
I ignored him and took my numbers down to the basement. I carefully dialed the sequence, holding my breath. Finally, I heard a heavy, satisfying click. The internal lock released and the lid popped open. Inside that box were two things. First, a thick, leather-bound journal filled with my mom's handwriting. And right next to it, a bunch of old microfilm rolls. She had carefully labeled every single one. My hands were shaking as I opened the first page, titled The Betrayal. She wrote about finding out my dad secretly mortgaged our house twice. He blew it all on reckless business ventures. She wrote about this massive fight they had in the Liddyburg. She was furious, but he just brushed her off. He had zero remorse. His casual cruelty about bankrupting us absolutely terrified her. I skipped to the last entry, written 2 days before her accident.
He found out she was investigating him and threatened her.
The last line gave me chills. The truth is built into its very bones. I couldn't stay in that basement another second. I grabbed the journal and the microfilm and rushed up to the studio. I loaded a roll into her old viewer, my heart pounding out of my chest. I hit play on the old machine, my heart in my throat. At first, it was just static and muffled rustling. Then, my dad's voice cut through the noise. He sounded desperate, pleading with her not to ruin him. His tone kept getting more agitated, more threatening. That recording captured the exact moment it all went wrong. I heard a sudden thud, a sharp gasp, and then just this awful, strained silence. Then came the sound of heavy footsteps, and finally my dad letting out this quiet, desperate sob before the tape just cut out. The truth hit me like a ton of bricks. Mom's death wasn't some tragic accident on a slippery path. It was murder. He struck her to keep her quiet. Then he staged the whole scene to look like a fall, making sure the investigation got buried. I just sat there in the studio, completely crushed by the weight of it all. The man who raised me was a murderer. But Mom, even at the very end, she fought for justice. She left this brilliant architectural breadcrumb trail, knowing I'd be the one to follow it. I gathered up all the evidence, feeling this cold, hard resolve settle in my chest. I grabbed the heavy steel box, the journal, and the microfilm. It was time to leave the studio. I had to go face the man who destroyed our family. I walked into the living room, my footsteps echoing in the quiet house. Dad was just sitting there, nursing a drink with the TV flickering in the background. He looked up at me, and the second he saw that steel box in my hands, all of the color drained from his face. I didn't say a word at first. I just walked right up and dropped the journal, the film, and the box on the coffee table between us. I looked him dead in the eye. I told him I found Mom's legacy, and I knew all about his massive betrayal. The mask he'd been wearing for a whole year just completely crumbled. His hands were shaking so bad he spilled his drink as he stood up. He started pleading with me, his voice cracking in this pathetic panic. He confessed they argued, she fell, and he just panicked and covered it up. The pain was unbearable, but underneath it all, I felt this quiet strength lock into place. I didn't scream or argue with him. The evidence spoke for itself. I just picked up my phone, kept my eyes locked on his shattered face, and dialed 911. He was arrested that night, and I made sure the Hearthstone was never sold. Instead of letting the house be a symbol of his lies, I opened up that forgotten foundation. I turned it into a beautiful memorial for Mom. It's proof that the truth always finds a way out of the dark. I've finally made my decision about the house. Despite all the painful memories, I knew I couldn't sell it. My father had wanted it gone, but this was my mother's masterpiece. It deserved to stand tall. Instead of running from the past, I decided to transform it. I started opening up that forgotten foundation. The heavy concrete had to come down. We dismantled the walls that kept the truth buried. The whole atmosphere of the basement started to shift. We brought in warm, gallery-style lighting to replace those harsh bulbs. It didn't feel like a tomb anymore. It was a blank canvas, waiting to honor her legacy. I turned that hidden vault into an elegant memorial space. It's dedicated entirely to her brilliance. I brought down her most cherished architectural drawings. I framed them with the respect they always deserved. Alongside the blueprints, I displayed her leather-bound journals. They held more than just the evidence of a crime. They held the brilliant mind of a master architect. Every page was a testament to her meticulous nature. In the center, I set up a quiet tribute to her courage. I placed that ornate brass key right under the glass. The very thing that unlocked the truth. A perfect symbol of her unyielding resolve. Sitting in that finished memorial space, I finally felt peace. That hollow space inside me was gone. The disconnect I'd felt since she died was finally filled. Filled with a deep, overwhelming pride for who she was. The Hearthstone now stands as a true testament to her brilliance. It reflects her unwavering commitment to the truth. The coldness that used to haunt the living room is gone. It's been replaced by a warm, enduring legacy. This memorial serves as a constant, powerful reminder. It proves that even the deepest, darkest secrets can't stay hidden. No matter how securely you bury them in concrete and steel, they simply cannot withstand the unwavering light of truth. Looking back on this journey, I know I made the only choice I could. The truth demanded to be known. My mother demanded justice. What would you sacrifice to uncover the truth, even if it meant shattering your own world? Walking back into Mom's studio the next morning, everything just felt lighter. For the first time in over a year, the air wasn't choking me with grief or all those ugly secrets. And the sunlight hitting that old drafting table actually felt warm again. By digging up the absolute worst part of this house, I somehow set the whole place free. I went over to the drafting table and finally rolled up those master blueprints, the ones that kicked off this whole nightmare. I tucked them away in a tube, archiving them as history instead of some dark mystery. Then I pulled out a fresh, blank sheet of paper. It was finally time to look forward. Right before she died, Mom was designing a new wing for the house. A little conservatory out back. The plans were only half finished, totally abandoned when my dad's paranoia took over. I decided my first real project was going to be finishing her final vision. So I picked up my pencil and just started drawing. As the weeks went by, the whole vibe inside the house completely flipped. That massive living room used to feel so cold and empty, especially with my dad constantly hovering. But now, it felt huge and welcoming. The steel beams and the wood floors just seemed to soak up the daylight differently. It wasn't a crime scene anymore. It was actually a home. I even forced myself to walk that rocky path behind the house. The one where they said she fell. The leaves were crunching under my boots and the air was just so crisp.
I didn't feel that crushing weight of the lies anymore. I just felt her out there in the woods she loved, kind of guiding my steps. We broke ground on the conservatory right before the first snow hit. Watching the crew pour that new concrete foundation was honestly wild. It felt like actual healing. Unlike those hidden, fortified walls Mom had to build in secret, this foundation was out in the open. It was built on honesty, not some massive lie. I started going down to the memorial vault every night after the crew went home. I'd just sit there on the bench, surrounded by her blueprints and that old journal. Sometimes I'd just talk to her out loud. I'd tell her how the glass walls and the steel framing were coming along. That little room really became a bridge between her past and my future. When the conservatory was finally done, it was absolutely breathtaking. It flowed right out of the main house, just this gorgeous mix of glass and dark steel. It literally invited the whole forest inside. Standing right in the middle of it, with the sun pouring in, I knew I'd done her justice. The Hearthstone was finally complete. I realized architecture isn't just about throwing up walls to hide from the world, or burying the things we're terrified of. It's about making spaces where life can actually happen, honestly. Mom used her genius to trap a massive lie, but she left me the tools to build something real. I wear her silver pendant every day now, just to remember that strength. The Hearthstone looks incredible against the twilight sky now. All the windows just glow with this warm, inviting light. This place survived betrayal, grief, and the insane weight of that hidden foundation. But now, its roots are planted firmly in the truth. And as for me, I'm finally ready to design my own legacy, one honest line at a time. The morning after I decided to stay, the studio just felt different. It wasn't just a museum to my mom's past anymore. It was the birthplace of my own future. I picked up my favorite drafting pencil, the one with the worn grip. For a whole year, I'd used these tools to tear down lies. Now, I was finally going to use them to build something real. My first solo project wasn't some grand mansion or a hidden fortress. It was a design for a public library in the city. A place built entirely around transparency and light, where nothing stays hidden. I started taking my breaks out in the new conservatory. The glass walls totally blurred the line between the house and the forest. It was exactly what my mom intended, before everything went wrong. Sometimes I'd catch my reflection in those massive windows. I definitely looked older, carrying the stress of the past year. But I also looked stronger, wearing her silver pendant like a badge of honor. I decided to officially move my practice right into the Hearthstone. The living room went from a cold monument to a total hub of creativity. I brought in young architects, filling the space with fresh, honest work. Down in the basement, the memorial vault stayed my quiet sanctuary. I hung my finished library blueprints right next to my mom's master plans. It felt like a conversation between us, spoken in lines and angles. Aunt Vivian came to visit in the spring, her first time back since the funeral. We sat in the studio looking through Mom's old sketchbooks from her 20s. We laughed until we cried, finally celebrating her life without the shadows. The truth totally shattered my world, just like Mom knew it would. But in the ruins of that old life, I found solid ground. The Hearthstone isn't just a house anymore. It's a testament to survival. I walked out to the edge of the property, looking back at the house. I touched the silver pendant at my throat, feeling the cool metal. The foundation is strong, the walls are clear, and the future is mine to design. Architecture used to just be about aesthetics for me. Now, I realize it's about honesty. A building has got to tell the truth about what it is. My mom always said, a house is only as good as its foundation. If there's rot down below, the whole thing eventually comes down. She lived by that rule, right up to the very end. I'm not trying to be her anymore. I'm just trying to take the best parts of what she taught me and build on them. Creating spaces where people actually feel safe. I framed the original plans, the ones with her red ink. They're a reminder that the truth always leaves a blueprint. The house feels totally different now. It's loud, it's messy, and it's full of life. It's exactly what she would have wanted. I walk the path behind the house almost every day. It used to terrify me. But now, I just feel her out here. I kept the box. It's empty now, but I need it there to remind me of what we survived. I left the vault open. No more secrets in this house. Everything is out in the light. The Hearthstone is finally just a home. A really beautiful, complicated home. And it's ours. People ask if I regret digging into him. If I wish I'd just let it go. But what would you sacrifice to uncover the truth? Even if it shatters your world, you gotta know. Sitting back at this drafting table feels completely different now. I'm not hunting for ghosts or trying to decode some dark family secret anymore. Now I'm just an architect, doing what my mom taught me to do. I'm designing a space that brings light into the darkest part of this house. The original plans for the basement were all about containment and fear. Heavy concrete, sealed walls, everything designed to bury the truth. My new blueprints are the exact opposite of that. We're opening it up, creating archways and letting the space breathe. Tearing down that reinforced wall was honestly one of the best days of my life. It was loud, it was incredibly dusty, and it took a massive crew to break through. But every time a chunk of that concrete fell, it felt like a weight lifting off my chest. We were literally dismantling the lies my father built. I like to think about what my mom would say if she could see the house now. She always believed that a building is a living, breathing story. For a while, this house was telling a story of betrayal and fear. Now, it's finally telling a story of resilience. We built these custom display cases right into the foundation walls. The first thing I put in there was her journal. It didn't belong locked away in the dark anymore. It needed to be out in the open, a reminder of exactly who she was and what she stood for. I also framed the brass key, the one with her initial on it. That tiny piece of metal basically unlocked the hardest truth of my life. But looking at it now, I don't feel that same dread. It just looks like a symbol of freedom. The finished memorial space is honestly breathtaking. We kept some of the raw concrete, but warmed it up with polished oak and really soft lighting. It feels exactly like something she would have designed herself. We took the scariest room in the house and turned it into a sanctuary. Walking through the main house now, the energy is completely different. That cold, heavy feeling that used to hang in the air is just gone. The Hearthstone finally feels like a real home again. It's like the house itself can finally breathe. My mom's studio isn't a museum anymore. It's a working firm again, and I'm taking on new clients. Every project I design now is built on the principles she taught me. No hidden spaces, no secrets, just pure, honest architecture. People ask me if I regret digging so deep into the past. If I wish I had just left well enough alone. But the truth is the only foundation you can actually build a life on. And I think my mom would be pretty damn proud of what we've built here.
The house is finally quiet now, but I still think about that night. The night I walked upstairs with the steel box. It's like a scar on the room, but only I can see. I remember coming up from the basement, just gripping that metal box. My heart was pounding out of my chest, but my mind was completely clear. I knew exactly what I had to do. My dad was just sitting there on the couch, nursing a drink. He looked up, and I swear I saw the exact second his world ended. He recognized the box immediately. I didn't yell. I just walked over and laid it all out on the table. Mom's journal, the microfilm, the box. I told him I found her legacy, and I knew what his folly really meant. The mask he'd been wearing for a whole year just fell apart. He looked like a trapped animal. All the lies, the secret mortgages, the embezzled money, it was all right there.
He started shaking so bad he spilled his drink.
He was begging, saying he was desperate, that he didn't mean to do it. He actually tried to say it was an accident, that he just panicked. I thought I'd be screaming, but I was just numb. I looked at him and finally saw the man he really was. A coward who sacrificed my mother to save his own pride. There was nothing left to argue about. The evidence spoke for itself. I didn't even blink. I just pulled out my phone, kept my eyes right on him, and called the police. Watching them take him away, it felt like a fever dream. The house was lit up with sirens, completely shattering the quiet. But for the first time in a year, I felt like I could breathe. It cost me my family to uncover the truth. But standing here now, looking at what she left behind, I know I'd do it all over again. I spend a lot of time in her studio these days. It doesn't feel heavy with secrets anymore. It just feels like her. Those blueprints are framed now, right above the drafting table. That red ink used to terrify me. Now, it's a reminder of exactly who she was. The house feels completely different now. The coldness that used to hang in the air is just gone. It finally feels like the sanctuary she meant it to be. She built this place to last, to protect us. And in the end, the very bones of this house did exactly that. They held the truth until I was ready to find it. Transforming that hidden vault was the hardest project I've ever taken on. I wanted to make sure it wasn't a tomb, but a celebration of her life's work. I kept the key, of course. It sits in a glass case right in the center of the room. A little piece of her genius that changed everything. That massive concrete wall doesn't look so intimidating anymore. We opened it up, let the light in. It's a reminder that nothing stays buried forever. I'm designing again. My own projects this time. But I carry her principles into every single line I draw. Structure, beauty, and above all, honesty. The Hearthstone is more than just a house to me now. It's a monument to a woman who refused to be silenced. It stands for everything she believed in. It shattered my world to find out what really happened. But I'd do it all over again. Because living in the truth is the only way to build a foundation that lasts. I couldn't just leave the conservatory unfinished. It was her final project, the last thing she was working on before everything fell apart. Now it kind of feels like we're finally finishing it together. I'm keeping her original foundation, of course. But I'm adding a few of my own touches to the upper framing. It's like having a conversation with her, right there on the paper. Walking through the house now, the whole vibe is just different. The heavy, suffocating feeling is totally gone. It actually feels like a home again, ready for something new. Mom always said, a building is a living narrative. She believed that if you build with integrity, the structure will stand the test of time.
She wasn't just talking about concrete and steel either. I wanted to make sure her story was protected. Not hidden away in the dark, but brought out into the light where it belongs.
This journal is the real foundation of our family now.
It's crazy to think how much pain was locked inside that little steel box. But it also held her courage. She sacrificed everything to make sure the truth survived. Breaking through that concrete wall was the hardest thing I've ever done. But leaving it open? That was the most healing part of this whole journey. The Hearthstone is finally what she always meant it to be. A place of safety, honesty, and real beauty. It's standing tall. And honestly, so am I. Some days are still tough, I won't lie. But when I sit here and look around at what she built, I just feel incredibly lucky to be her daughter. We can't change the past, no matter how much we want to. But we can choose what we build on top of it. And I'm going to build something beautiful. The old plans are finally put away. It's time for a blank slate. The conservatory was her final vision. But now, it's my turn to bring it to life. A symbol of rebirth for this house. I'm using her old tools, blending them with my own, drawing the lines for a brand new foundation. This one won't hide any dark secrets. It's only gonna hold light. Breaking ground felt like a massive release, turning over the earth, exposing the soil to the sun. It's the exact opposite of that cold, hidden vault. The healing process has actually begun. Standing out there on the site, I finally felt like I was in my element. Watching them prep the new concrete, I realized I was commanding the space, just like she used to. Watching the fresh concrete pour in, it fills the space with such purpose. Concrete was used to bury the truth here, but now we're using it to build something completely transparent. I touched the wooden forms holding the foundation. You can actually feel the vibration of the work, the energy of creation. It's so different from that dead, silent wall in the basement. This place is alive again. I kept thinking about something she told me when I was just a kid on her sites. She said buildings are living narratives. They tell the story of the people inside them, and they grow with us. A few weeks later, the steel framing went up, reaching right up into the sky. It forms this elegant open skeleton, mirroring the beams in the main house, connecting the past to the future. The sunlight streams right through those unfinished beams, casting these beautiful, intricate shadows. Walking through that open framework, feeling the sun on my face, it just feels incredibly uplifting. Looking back at the main house from the new wing, I realized I'd finally done it. Merged her legacy with my own vision. The Hearthstone isn't a monument to betrayal anymore. It's a fortress of truth. I couldn't just leave that space the way it was. It felt wrong to let that concrete tomb stay hidden in the dark. So I brought in a crew to carefully cut away the reinforced wall. Watching those heavy blocks come down was like lifting a weight off my chest. For the first time, light actually reached into that forgotten foundation, and we were finally chasing out the shadows my father left behind. Stepping into that raw, dusty space, I didn't feel fear anymore. I just saw a blank canvas. I knew exactly what I needed to build down here to honor her. I went back to the studio and started drafting. I wanted to transform that vault into a small, elegant memorial space, a quiet tribute to her courage, designed with the very tools she left me. It took weeks of meticulous work to get it right. We smoothed out the rough concrete and installed warm, gallery-style lighting. The damp chill was gone, replaced by something peaceful and reverent. I framed her original master blueprints and hung them on the walls. Those beautiful cyanotype lines deserved to be seen, not buried. They were the true blueprint of our family, flaws and all. In the center of the room, I set up a glass display case. I placed her leather-bound journal inside, right next to that ornate brass key. The key that unlocked the truth. The finished space it's beautiful. It's a quiet sanctuary right in the foundation of the house. A constant reminder that even the deepest secrets can't withstand the light. Standing there now, I finally feel that hollow space inside me closing up. She didn't die in vain. Her legacy isn't just this house anymore. It's the truth she fought for. I decided I'm never selling the Hearthstone. It's my home, and it's a monument to her resilience. So I gotta ask, what would you sacrifice to uncover the truth? The house feels completely different now. That cold, empty feeling is just gone. It's like the walls can finally breathe again. I look at the steel beams and the glass, and I don't see a cage anymore. I see her strength. I see a foundation built on something real. Coming back into her studio doesn't hurt the way it used to. The grief is still there, sure, but it's different. It feels like a place to start over. Mom always said a blank page was a promise. A chance to build something that outlasts us. I think I'm finally ready to make my own promises. When I picture her now, I don't see the fear from those last days. I see the brilliant, unstoppable woman who raised me. The master architect who never compromised. We went through hell to get the truth out. It shattered the only family I had left. But I'd do it all over again. Truth is the only foundation that actually holds up. Everything else just crumbles eventually. Mom knew that better than anyone. This space used to be a tomb for a lie. Now it's a monument to her courage. A reminder that some secrets refuse to stay buried. The journal, the key, they're just pieces of history now. They don't own me anymore. They just prove that she fought back. So what would you sacrifice to uncover the truth? Even if it meant shattering your own world? For me, it was the only way to finally build a real one. I spend most of my afternoons in the studio now. It's not just a shrine anymore. It's a place where I actually build my own future. Every line I draw feels like a conversation with her. My new designs are completely different from the old Hearthstone. I'm focusing on open spaces, glass walls, places where light reaches every single corner. I never want to build a place that can hide a secret like that again. Walking through the house used to feel so heavy, like the walls were holding their breath, just waiting for the other shoe to drop. But now the daylight just pours in, and the whole place feels alive. My mom built this place to be a fortress. She used steel and concrete to protect us, even when she knew the real danger was already inside. I can feel her strength in every beam. Sometimes I swear I can still see her standing right here, just taking it all in, finally at peace with what she created. She fought so hard for the truth, and she actually won. I still come down to the basement just to look at the wall. It used to be this terrifying, featureless dead end. Now that open door is the most beautiful thing in the entire house. That steel box held enough poison to destroy our entire family. So Arthur thought he could just lock his guilt away in the dark and forget about it. But secrets like that, they always find a way to breathe. Packing up his things was easier than I thought it would be. I thought I'd feel some kind of grief, or at least pity. But honestly, I just felt incredibly light. It took a long time to stop feeling like a victim in my own home. To realize that the truth didn't shatter my world, it actually saved it. I'm not just living in my mother's shadow anymore. People ask me what I sacrificed to uncover the truth. I tell them I didn't sacrifice anything that was actually real. I just cleared away the lies, so the foundation could finally hold. I couldn't just leave that basement as a dark, empty scar. It needed to be transformed into something that actually honored her. Every line I drew felt like taking back a piece of our history.
The new plans were all about light and transparency.
No more heavy walls or hidden locks. I wanted to build a space where her brilliance could finally be out in the open. Doing the physical work down there was kind of therapeutic, honestly. Drilling into that cold concrete felt like breaking the last of his hold on us. I was bringing warmth back into the coldest part of the house. Her journal was the first thing I put on display. It wasn't just a diary. It was the ultimate proof of her bravery. She documented her own nightmare, so I wouldn't have to live in it. I framed the original blueprints, red ink and all. Those notes she left me were the breadcrumbs that blew this whole thing wide open.
They belong on the wall, not stuffed in a drawer.
And then there was the key, the little brass E that unlocked the truth. It's crazy how something so small carried the weight of our entire family's survival. Standing there looking at it all, the heaviness finally lifted. It wasn't a crime scene anymore. It was a monument to her genius. She built this house to protect us, and in the end, it really did. I like to think she knows what I did with the place. That she sees the truth is out, and the house is finally ours again. I can almost feel her smiling down at me. Walking back upstairs felt different this time. I wasn't looking over my shoulder or second-guessing every shadow. The Hearthstone is just a home now, exactly what she always meant it to be. People ask me if it's hard living here after everything that happened. But honestly, it's the only place I want to be. We survived the storm, and now we get to enjoy the light. Months pass, and a new, lighter rhythm finally settles into the house. I find myself back at the drafting table, but I'm not just looking backward anymore. I'm designing my own projects now, letting her legacy guide me instead of weigh me down. My new blueprints are crisp and white, a big change from those heavy, secret-filled cyanotypes. There are no hidden vaults or cryptic red warnings in my designs. Every room, every hallway is built for openness and transparency. Walking through the living room now, the whole atmosphere feels completely different. That cold, haunted emptiness that used to echo off the steel beams is just gone. The house has finally become the warm, safe sanctuary she always meant it to be. I look out these massive windows at the rugged landscape outside. I used to think about that treacherous path and the lie that kept us in the dark. But the truth shattered that old world and let a much stronger one take root. Down in the basement, the memorial space is just a quiet place to reflect. I don't come down here to grieve anymore, but to draw on her courage. That brass key doesn't lock away a nightmare now. It just reminds me of her strength. Her leather journal sits on the oak shelf, a silent guardian of what really happened. Those pages used to be full of fear, but now they're just a closed chapter. It's a permanent reminder of what deception costs and why integrity matters so much. I run my hand along that rough concrete wall right next to her master plans. It's crazy to think about the sheer physical effort she put into hiding the evidence. This wall used to be a trap, but now it's a monument to her absolute resilience. Sometimes a memory of her washes over me, so vivid and warm. I remember being a little girl, standing on a stool while she conjured buildings from thin air. She'd guide my hand to draw a straight line, passing the torch without me even knowing. Back in the studio, my mind is finally clear. I pick up my pencil,
ready to keep doing the work we both love.
I'm an architect of truth now, and I'm ready to build my own legacy.
The late afternoon sun casts these long, golden beams across the room. The Hearthstone stands quiet and strong, its deepest mystery finally solved. It's a masterpiece of concrete and steel, but mostly of the enduring power of the truth. The Hearthstone isn't just a house anymore. It's a testament to surviving the darkest kind of betrayal. I look at these walls now, and I don't see secrets. I see my mother's unbreakable spirit. I packed away the old blueprints today, the ones with all her hidden warnings in red ink. They did their job, and they guided me to the truth. Now, they belong to history. I decided to open the house up to students. Mom always believed architecture was a conversation, not a monologue. Seeing them look at her work with such awe, it brings the place back to life. You can see the exact moment it clicks for them. That realization that a building isn't just shelter. It's a story we tell the future about who we were. My new project is finally breaking ground. It's a community center downtown, designed to be completely transparent. Lots of glass, open spaces, nothing hidden in the dark. Being out on the site feels incredible. There's this raw energy when a foundation is being poured. You're literally setting the groundwork for something that's going to outlast you. I watched every single yard of concrete go in. I need to know this foundation is solid all the way through. No secret spaces. No forgotten vaults. Just pure, honest strength. Walking through the framing is my favorite part. It's like seeing the skeleton of a giant before it wakes up. You can feel the potential in the air. I brought a model of the new center down to the memorial. It felt right to put it there, next to her journal. A promise that I'm keeping her legacy alive, but doing it my way. People ask me if it was worth it, tearing my own family apart to find the truth. I look at what we've built since the dust settled, and I know the answer. The truth is the only foundation that lasts. It's wild how different this room feels now. The heavy, suffocating weight is just gone. Now when I walk in here, it's like I can finally breathe again. I just feel her presence, you know? Not the fear she had at the end, but her actual spirit. We didn't try to hide what happened down in the basement. Instead, I decided to open the whole thing up. We turned that dark, terrifying little vault into a memorial. It felt like the only right way to honor what she went through, bringing light into the exact spot where he tried to bury the truth. I put her journal right in the center of the room. That little book held the key to everything. It's crazy to think how much courage it took for her to write those words. Knowing the danger she was in, she still documented every single lie. She built a case out of pure love for this family. And of course, the brass key is right there next to it. The ultimate puzzle piece she left behind for me. I framed the original blueprints on the walls around it too. Those red ink marks aren't a mystery anymore. They're a map of her absolute brilliance. The rest of the house feels completely different now too. It used to feel so cold and empty, like a museum for a ghost. But now it just feels like home. The sunlight hits the steel beams exactly the way she intended. It's warm, it's safe, and it's finally ours again. I kept the hidden door in the bedroom exactly as it was. That tiny seam in the floorboards is still there. It's a reminder that things aren't always what they seem on the surface. But it doesn't scare me anymore. It just reminds me of how incredibly smart she was. I've started taking on new projects again. For a long time, I was just trying to live up to her impossible legacy. I was so stuck in her shadow, trying to be exactly like her. But going through all of this, it changed me.
I'm finally finding my own voice as an architect.
I look at her picture every single day.
I used to look at it and just feel this crushing grief. Now I just feel this overwhelming sense of gratitude.
She sacrificed everything to make sure the truth survived.
She protected me, even when she wasn't here anymore. The Hearthstone is more than just a house to me now. It's a monument to resilience. It survived the lies, the betrayal, the darkest parts of our family.
And it's still standing, stronger than ever.
Just like she intended. People ask me if I regret digging so deep, if I wish I had just laughed well enough alone and kept my family intact. But a family built on a lie isn't really a family at all. The truth shattered my world, yeah, but it gave me the pieces to build a real one.
The Hearthstone isn't a crime scene anymore.
It's a living testament to my mom's absolute genius. Walking through this place now, I finally get it. I understand the language she was speaking through the steel and glass. I'm not just copying her work anymore. I'm evolving it, making it my own. Every line I draw feels a little more confident.
All that trauma from the past year?
It's finally turning into something beautiful. That memorial space down in the basement is like the anchor of this house now. The evidence box sits open behind the glass. It's a permanent reminder. No matter how deep you bury the truth, it's gonna find its way up. My dad's presence is completely gone from these walls. The dark corners where he used to pace are filled with light now. I still feel a little sorry for the man he could have been. But honestly, I'm just fiercely protective of what she built. The morning light in the studio hits differently these days. That crushing weight of the investigation is finally gone. My mind is clear for the first time in over a year. The future is wide open, and it's mine to design. I keep the brass key right on my desk now. It used to be this terrifying thing that unlocked a nightmare. Now, when I hold it, it just feels like resilience. It's proof of my mom's brilliant foresight. Stepping outside, the air just feels cleaner. Looking back at the Hearthstone, it's so striking against the sky. It really is a fortress of truth. It weathered the absolute worst storm, and it's still standing tall. Sometimes I swear I can almost see her standing right next to me, surveying her creation with that satisfied little smile. Her spirit is permanently woven into the fabric of this place. She's not gone. She's right here in the walls. I carefully rolled up those master blueprints today. Those red ink notes aren't a warning anymore. They're a badge of honor. Peaceful closure. The mystery is solved, and it's time to retire them to history. I packed up my bag and my drafting tools, taking one last look around the studio before I head out. I'm finally ready to step out of the shadows of the past. It's time to build my own legacy, one honest brick at a time. Going down those basement stairs used to feel like stepping into a grave. Now, it's different. The heavy dread that used to hang in the air is just gone. I reclaimed this space. My mother's journal sits right in the center of the new memorial. Those pages held her darkest fears and her final desperate warnings. But now, they're bathed in warm light. A quiet tribute to a woman who absolutely refused to be silenced. I still touch that concrete wall sometimes. It's cold, sure, but it doesn't feel like a barrier anymore. It feels like a true foundation. Strong, unyielding, and built to last. Kind of like her. When the sun goes down, the Hearthstone completely transforms. Warm light spills out from those massive windows, pushing back the dark. It's not a cold, empty monument anymore. It's a home again, standing as a beacon of the truth. I find myself working late in the studio a lot these days. But I'm not just digging through the past anymore. I'm actually building my own future. With her legacy finally safe, I can let my own vision take flight. I started wearing her silver pendant. It's just a small geometric shape, but it carries so much weight. It keeps me grounded. It's my silent promise to always dig for the truth, no matter what. The living room has really softened up over the last few months. I brought in some plants, some warmer textures, breaking up that rigid, cold vibe my dad always insisted on. The house finally feels like it's breathing again. I keep a photo of her on my desk now. It's from the early days, right when they started building the Hearthstone. She looks so incredibly brilliant and full of life. Whenever I look at it, I just feel this deep sense of peace. Looking at the Hearthstone from a distance, you'd never guess what it went through. It survived deception, tragedy, and some pretty dark human impulses, but it's still standing. A true testament to the power of a strong foundation. This whole journey completely shattered my world. I had to rebuild everything I knew from the ground up. But standing here now, looking out at the horizon, I know the sacrifice was worth it, just to live in the light of the truth. Keeping the house wasn't an easy call. But honestly, it was the only one that made sense. I had to strip away all the lies my dad built up. So I started exactly where she would have. Right back at the drafting table. I packed away those old, terrifying blueprints. They belonged in the past now. Instead, I rolled out fresh paper and started over. I erased all those heavy, paranoid walls he forced you to build. That forgotten space finally got a real name. The actual demolition was exhausting, but man, it felt good. We tore down those false walls block by block. With every piece of concrete we hauled out, the air got lighter. It was like we were physically dismantling his guilt, breaking it down until there was nothing left to hide. Once the space was cleared, I had an idea. I designed a light well to pull sunshine straight down from the ground floor. For the first time in decades, that dark vault was flooded with natural light. It completely changed the energy of the room. We turned a tomb into a sanctuary. I couldn't just throw away that steel lockbox. It held her truth, so I cleaned it up and polished the E on the lid. Now it sits on an oak pedestal right in the center of the room. I leave it wide opened out. Inside are her favorite drafting tools, right where they belong. Walking through the main house feels completely different these days. That heavy, suffocating silence is finally gone. I can actually look at these steel beams and massive windows and just breathe. My dad's nervous energy used to haunt every corner of this place. Now it's just a beautiful house again. Sometimes when the afternoon light hits the glass just right, I swear I can almost see her standing there, just surveying her masterpiece with that intense, analytical look. It doesn't scare me, though. It's comforting, knowing her brilliance is still baked into these walls. I like to stand right where she used to stand, feeling the solid oak floors under my boots. I'm not just the grieving kid looking for answers anymore. I'm the guardian of this place now, and I'm ready to build my own legacy on top of this foundation. That heavy brass key isn't hidden under the floorboards anymore. I actually had it professionally mounted in a shadow box. It hangs right up on the studio wall, next to her original blueprints. I look at it every single day. It reminds me that some doors just have to be opened, no matter what's behind them. The house gets so quiet at the end of the day, but it's a good quiet now, a creative one. The mystery is over. The lies are gone. All that's left is the architecture and the truth. Time to get back to work. The new conservatory I was designing wasn't just an addition. It was a conversation between two generations of architects. My pencil moved with a new kind of freedom. I was finally blending my mom's sharp lines with my own softer curves. This drafting table used to be ground zero for my frantic investigation. Now it's a place of pure creation. The blueprints are taking shape. It's a testament to resilience, a physical way of moving forward while honoring the past. Down in the transformed basement, the memorial space stands as a quiet sanctuary. We swapped the harsh utility lights for soft gallery illumination. My mom's leather-bound journal rests securely under a glass display. Surrounding the journal are her original, unblemished sketches. They showcase her unparalleled genius, her ability to see beauty in everything. When friends visit, they marvel at her vision. They finally understand the true Eleanor Vance. I often walk the perimeter of the Hearthstone at dusk, tracing the exterior walls. This house survived a profound trauma, just like I did. Its concrete held the darkest secrets, yet it's still standing strong. It's like the architecture itself finally breathed a sigh of relief. The shadows don't feel menacing anymore. They've been replaced by the warm glow of interior lights. It's not a crime scene. It's just a home again. Back in the studio, I keep a framed photograph of my mom on my desk. It's an older picture, taken before the fear set in. She looks radiant and fiercely intelligent. I look at it whenever I need a reminder. Sometimes I swear I can hear her voice in the rustle of the paper. It's a guiding presence. She taught me that truth is paramount. Her legacy isn't just this house. It's the courage she instilled in me. This journey cost me my father, my illusions, and my security. But it gave me back my mother. It gave me the unvarnished truth. I stand in the Hearthstone now knowing the structure is completely sound. The deepest secrets cannot withstand the unwavering light of truth. But it requires tearing down the walls you thought protected you. So I ask you, what would you sacrifice to uncover the truth, even if it meant shattering your world? We didn't just keep the house closed off. I decided to open the Hearthstone up to young architecture students. It turned my mom's masterpiece into a living, breathing classroom. Felt like the best way to honor her belief that every building tells a story. Watching them walk through that soaring living room, it's incredible. Their eyes just trace those exposed steel beams. I see the exact same awe I felt when I was a kid. They aren't just looking at a house. They're reading her language. Back in the studio, the drafting table isn't just mine anymore. We all gathered around it, really analyzing her original blueprints. We talk a lot about the true integrity of design. I'm just teaching them what she taught me, that a strong foundation is about way more than just concrete. They study those master blueprints for hours, tracing the crisp white lines and her elegant red notes. That forgotten foundation isn't some dark secret anymore. It's literally a celebrated case study in structural resilience now. The memorial space down in the basement has become kind of like a pilgrimage. Her old colleagues come down to the transformed vault to pay their respects. They remember a woman who absolutely refused to compromise. That heavy steel box just sits open now, a symbol of the truth finally coming out. Outside, the new conservatory is actually taking shape. Watching the steel framing go up, blending right into the original house, it's beautiful. It's a physical representation of healing for me, like adding a brand new chapter to a book that was almost destroyed. I actually took that ornate brass key and had it framed. It hangs right by the front door now. First thing I see when I leave, last thing I see when I get home.
Just a daily reminder that some locks are meant to be broken. The grief still comes in waves, of course.
There are mornings when the silence of the house is just deafening. And the memory of my dad's betrayal, it still stings.
But the foundation holds.
And so do I.
The Hearthstone isn't just a monument to her genius anymore.
And it's definitely not a tomb for his sins. It's a living, breathing testament to the enduring power of the truth, proving that light can pierce even the thickest concrete.
My name is Elara Vance. I'm an architect.
And just like my mother before me, I build things to last. The truth is our strongest material, and I'm never going to stop building on it. We turn that dark, forgotten foundation into something beautiful. It's not a tomb of secrets anymore.
It's a sanctuary for the truth.
Those heavy concrete walls finally get to hold her greatest achievements. We put her original sketches and those leather-bound journals on display down here. Even the master blueprints have their own spot now. It's just a quiet tribute to her courage, a reminder of how much she valued integrity. Sometimes I just come down here to run my hand along the concrete. It used to feel so cold and oppressive to me. But now it feels like an anchor. It just proves that no secret can hide from the light forever. Upstairs, it honestly feels like the house can breathe again. The sunlight from the new conservatory just spills right into the older rooms. It warms up the polished oak and those dark steel beams. The Hearthstone is finally whole. I spend most of my afternoons at her drafting table now, working on my own designs. I even use her old architectural pencils. I feel this incredible connection to her with every single line I draw. Her legacy is still going, just built on honesty now. When evening rolls around, the whole house glows from the inside out. It looks almost like a lantern against the twilight. It's this massive beacon of resilience for me, standing tall against all those shadows from our past. I keep a photograph of her right on my desk. Eleanor Vance, the master architect and the woman who absolutely refused to let a lie stand. She sacrificed everything she had to make sure the truth survived. That ornate brass key is still sitting in its frame by the front door. It's my daily reminder of what it took to unlock the reality of my family. It reminds me that some doors just have to be opened, no matter how much it hurts to turn the lock. I can stand out on that path behind the house now, the one where she supposedly fell. I don't feel any fear out there anymore. Just a really profound sense of peace. The storm is finally over, and our foundation is still standing. It all leaves me with one final question, one that just kind of echoes through the halls of this house. What would you sacrifice to uncover the truth? Even if it meant completely shattering your own world? When you shatter your own world, you're left with pieces. But as an architect, you know that pieces are just materials waiting for a new design. The heavy steel box doesn't hold dangerous secrets anymore. It just holds our history now. And it's a history we finally don't have to hide from. For a really long time, this incredible house just felt like a beautiful, cold cage. But now, the silence in these rooms isn't heavy or haunted. It's just peaceful. My mother designed the Hearthstone to be a fortress of comfort. By uncovering the truth, I think I finally finished her work. The foundation is finally secure. I'm back at the drafting table every single day. Not just tracing her old lines, but drawing my own. Building something new on top of the truth. I wear her silver pendant as a daily reminder. A reminder that integrity isn't just some abstract structural concept. It's how you actually choose to live your life. The basement used to be a place of fear and betrayal. Now it's a monument to a brilliant woman who absolutely refused to be silenced. Her voice echoes down here.
People ask me if I'll ever leave this place behind. But honestly, why would I? This house is a testament to surviving the absolute worst kind of storm.
We can't change the past or the people who let us down, but we can choose what we build from the wreckage. And I choose to build something beautiful.
The Hearthstone stands tall, not because it has no flaws.
It stands because its true foundation was finally brought into the light. And the light changes absolutely everything.